Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
When we met the first time, you were telling me about Imagine Scholar. And can you tell me again, what is Imagine Scholar?
So Imagine Scholar is an after-school program that basically helps young people around Nkomazi in Mpumalanga. It's a rural area, cultivate their potential. So we believe that the world has an equal distribution of potential across, and so our job as an organization is to find those students that exhibit the most potential and cultivate that. We believe extraordinary people change the world, and our students are definitely extraordinary.
So how do you guys do this?
In a number of ways. So we run different programs at Imagine Scholar. So we have the Scholar program where students come in 25 hours a week. So it's very intense. It's on top of school. So they come in, there's classes that we run about different topics. We have like a program called DDD where they challenge like different issues in society, in the community, and the world at large. And then we have like the grade 12 program where Imagine Scholar staff goes to high schools and then we assist grade 12s learn how to learn. So we teach them learning strategies, we teach them basically how to be good students. And then we have the grade 8 program, which we're now calling the Pathfinder program. So this is like the beginning of where the intensive program at Imagine Scholar basically starts.
So that's interesting because I would imagine somebody, and I'm to now because we're talking as women, and like young women like grade 8, right? What have you found are the like misconceptions that young women have about themselves that are revealed or combated through the Imagine Scholar?
I think the biggest one, because I was that young woman, I think the biggest one is that your dreams have limits. You can only dream so far or you can only dream so big. And then there's like a point where you can't reach or can't get to. When you grow up in like a rural area, there's so many ways that society suppresses you as a woman. Like the stories they tell about women, the stories they tell about you as a person. And so the biggest misconception is that you can't dream too big. You have to basically scale yourself down in order to make people around you feel comfortable.
So what is dreaming big at Imagine Scholar? Like, tell me examples of people who've come out of Imagine Scholar and they've dreamt big and done amazing things.
I mean, I think at Imagine Scholar you can't dream big enough. You know, like we're weird that way. Like we're very passionate about the things that we do as staff members, but also we encourage our students to think about different projects that they could start around the Nkomazi or around the country, you know, businesses that they could start. You know, like we have a student in Cape Town that's studying astrophysicist. I don't know anybody who is one, but this kid,
what they do.
Exactly. Like, but this kid from rural Nkomazi, you know, from like a very disadvantaged community was like, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. And she went there and she's studying it right now.
So how do you find these people with potential? Like, how do I know I have potential? So I'm sitting here, I'm in the rural area, and I'm thinking, I don't even have potential. I don't even know what I want to study. I mean, like, I know, and we talk about this a lot here in the office, is that we are told that we can be a few things, right? We're going to be a teacher, like the normal stuff that you see every single day. So how does this person know that, okay, that I have this potential? How do they come to Imagine Scholar? How do you find them? I'm guessing they're not going on your website, right? And saying, Imagine Scholar. I mean, I didn't know about Imagine Scholar until I started speaking to you.
Students don't find us, we find them. So we work with a number of schools around Nkomazi, and they go through, like the students go through such an intense like selection process. There's an application, there's essays that they need to write, there's so many things, interviews that they have to go through in order to get into Imagine Scholar. And then we have like the Explorer program, which is basically like an 8-month long selection process. So we trying to see whether this person is an Imagine Scholar, because as we say, Imagine Scholar is not a place we come to. That's what we tell our students. It's not a place you come to, it's an identity you carry within yourself. Exactly. and so if you are an Imagine Scholar, 8 months we'll have to observe and see whether you carry, I guess, the Imagine Scholar identity. There's like several things that we look for.
I was going to ask you, so what is, like, would I qualify to be an Imagine Scholar person? What, like, how do I know that I am this person?
Yeah, we have this thing called the 4-way test. So it's basically, you ask yourself this 4 questions, right? Every day we encourage our students to be mindful of who they are, what they put out into the world, and like how they interact with the world around them, and you know, like the product they produce as people, right? So there's is this kind, right? So every single day you have to reflect. Am I being kind to the people around me? Am I being kind to the environment? Am I being kind to myself? Right? And then is this the right thing, right? Are you always striving to do the right thing? Like whether someone is watching or not, you know, whether there's people around, or, you know, whether you're in the crowd and no one else is doing something, like, are you the person who's going to choose to do the right thing in that moment? Is this excellence, right? Are you always pushing yourself to do better, be better, achieve better, dream bigger, and all of these other things? And then the last one is the story benefiting me, right? Like I said, the stories that society tells about us, who we are as people, affect who we are in a lot of ways. And so we try to restructure those stories that our students tell about themselves.
Okay, that's interesting, because I know you are part of the alumni program, right? What limitations, what stories have you told yourself, right, that you've had to overcome, and how did you do it?
Yeah. Okay, this is, I like this question because it makes me reflect. I think I was a very anxious 15-year-old before I joined Imagine Scholar. I was always stressed out about the future, always stressed out about like my dreams, like am I going to be able to achieve them? Am I going to pass matric? You know, like we put so much emphasis on whether somebody passes matric and like whether their life is going to take off after that, you know? And so I was deeply anxious about all of that. And I think once I joined Imagine Scholar, I realized that the mindset, like the way that you think about your life, plays a huge role on like the things that you achieve in the future, and that academics are not everything. And so for me, I had to adopt the how hard can it be, Jean? Whenever you're thinking of something, right? Whenever you're thinking of a big idea, crazy idea, right? You know, how hard can it be?
I'm call you out on that one, saying academics are not everything. Says somebody who's starting now, like, what is it? Is it a primary school?
A preschool,
preschool, right? So here you are. Why the preschool then, if academics are not everything?
Academics are definitely not everything. Okay. So here's what's different about my preschool, right? The focus isn't necessarily on just academics, right? The focus is on the human, right? So you want to provide an education that's holistic. You want to provide an environment that encourages somebody to have like a broader view of the world and be excited and inspired. You know, education should be inspiring. It shouldn't be you have to cram this in order to pass a test. It should be you should be inspired and want to learn and be excited about learning. And so the reason why I'm studying at preschool is because I want to reinvent like this idea of academics. Exactly. We can do academics, right? But are the kids excited about it? Academics, right? What else are we bringing into like the learning environment that elicits that extraordinary, you know, that brings out the extraordinary out of our kids? And so that's why I started at preschool, so we can reinvent academics.
So there's someone now watching us thinking, I want to be as awesome as Zodwa. What do they do? Since you go find them, how do they get themselves in your radar, or what, you know, where to?
Well, first of all, thank you for saying I'm awesome.
Thank you very much.
But I think, like I said, with Imagine Scholar, we have a selection process, but as an organization, we're trying to expand. And so one of the projects that we've been working on is finding schools that we can work with, and then sending people to the schools. That way we can have a lot more reach. Like right now, students come to the center, we run our programming at the center, and so it limits how many students we can reach, it limits how much impact we can make. And so with our expansion, right, then we're going to the schools, we're inviting students, right, here's an opportunity, this is what we teach, this is what the curriculum looks like, right, this is what we're trying to achieve, Imagine Scholars Mission, basically. And so, do you want to be a part of it? We'll give you the opportunity to choose. You have to choose to care. You have to choose to care about your future, to care about where this organization is going and what we do.
So that's interesting because I think you were telling me, or Corey was telling me, that actually the program is ran by former students.
Yeah.
So all of you decided you're going to graduate and then you're going to stay there. Is it part of what you learned from Imagine Scholar, the paying it forward?
Yeah. Like I think the biggest lesson for sure is taking responsibility for your community. You know, like when you grow up in a community like mine, there's so many disadvantages and so many challenges that you face as a young person. You go to an organization like Imagine Scholar, right? And they give you the opportunity and they open up so many, I guess, open up your perspective, right? For me, joining Imagine Scholar was like getting permission to dream, right? It was like, hey, there's so many other possibilities out there, right? If money wasn't a factor, if resources were not a factor, how big can you dream? And having that opportunity to dream as big as I want, or to think of the other possibilities that I never thought were possible for someone like me, you know, to be able to be part of a team that provides that for another 15-year-old like I got when I was 15. That's amazing for me.
You give me goosies. Now, what would you say to this 15-year-old who's sitting, right, about to go to grade 8? I'm too old. It's grade 10. So they're going to grade 10. They're 15 years old and they have to decide now, which I find it weird in this conversation for another day, on making 16-year-olds decide what the rest of their lives look like, right, based on the academics we were talking about.
Yeah.
What do you say to that one who can't come to Imagine Scholar sitting, let's say, here in Johannesburg and doesn't have access to a group of people like yourselves?
Yeah.
What do they need to do to motivate themselves? How do you sit? Like, think about it. I'm sitting, this is my life. I'm going to get to school, I'm going to come home, right? There's a lot of things happening around us. I mean, I think every single person now in this time, it doesn't matter whether you're South African or not, or in South Africa or not. There's a lot of things happening in the world, right? Where do they find that inside themselves? And do you have tips on how do you motivate yourself? You know, some people can afford to buy motivational books, right? Don't have access to the internet. You don't have this. You don't have that. Where do you find this motivation?
Wow.
I know the answer. I just want to hear what you have to say.
I'm not sure. I think, to be honest, for me, I had Imagine Scholar. I had a support system. I had people that were able to help me open my eyes and see the possibilities. So for somebody who does not have that opportunity, it's such a scary prospect for me. So that now I'm thinking about it and I'm like, if I was that 15-year-old and nobody was there for me to help me figure things out, it would be such a scary, scary thing. You know what I mean? But I mean, find an identity. You know what I mean? I think like I said, Imagine Scholar is an identity. I think there's so much that comes from like defining who you are as a person first before you can then be anything else to anybody else.
So do you have like social media platforms where people can go at least and like go check out Zodwa and go check out what other people have been doing, some material maybe there that they can look at and find some inspiration?
We have a LinkedIn, we have a Facebook, and we have Instagram as well. Yeah.
Okay. So to people, because you know, I can imagine that Imagine Scholar needs funds to run.
Yes.
Right? Why would a corporate or a person, you know, who's interested in helping, how do they help out?
Yeah.
How would they give you support? What do you need from them?
So Imagine Scholar helps young people become extraordinary, right? What the world needs is extraordinary people in order to change, in order to improve, in order to set systems in place that are functional and sustainable, right? So that's what we produce. And so for a corporate company, for an organization out there that's looking to fund an after-school organization, start thinking about what is it, I guess, as a human, right? Do you want to invest in? You know what I mean? I think if you invest in someone, if you invest in a person, you know, then you've made such a huge impact because you invest in one person, they invest in 5, and those 5 invest in 15. That creates a ripple effect. You know, what Imagine Scholar needs right now is the resources to be able to reach more students. The more reach we have, right, the more impact we'll make. Because they changed my life. I have an ECD right now that has like 30 kids. We're hoping for 40 by the end of the year, right? Yeah. So now I'm impacting 40 kids. Right? Somebody else starts a project, right, and they're impacting say 50 people. Yeah. Somebody else starts a business, and you know, it creates this ripple effect. So Imagine Scholar needs resources to be able to reach those kids, you know, to be able to expand.
I like that. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. For the first time I met you, I remain with what you said, that Imagine Scholar gives you allows you to dream.
Yeah. Gives you permission
to dream. You know, and since I met you that day, I've been giving myself permission to dream. So thank you very much. I hope anybody watching this enjoyed it as much as I did. Meeting you has been probably one of the best moments in my life. And thank you very much, and good luck with your ECD program.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me. I really had fun.